Hey guys, and welcome back to the theBSofSociety. So, something that I mentioned in the last video was talking about the system that basically requires you to get a lot of 5 stars, especially in Destiny Child. And I think it's the reason why you get so much gacha currency and so many gacha tickets. Destiny Child is a gacha game that I like to call disguised free-to-play. Because it looks extremely free to play, it acts extremely free to play, but in hindsight, it's really more budget player and whale friendly, right? Because as a budget player, you can buy units directly in Destiny Child, right? And as a whale, you can pretty much buy all of the duplicates that you ever want, or maybe not you ever want, but point being is you can basically buy all the duplicates that you would ever need for that new unit, right? Straight off the rip, right when it's released. So, basically meaning that whales can basically just dominate in PvP without even having to go through the gacha system and spending thousands of dollars. They might be able to spend like $400 or $500 directly on a unit and have them immediately completed. And then they can go and buy a $50 100 pack that gives them new units every day and further have them done. Meanwhile, your free-to-play players are basically sitting there constantly doing pulls just to hope they get this unit however many times they need, along with the additional 5 stars to further max out the unit. Yeah, Destiny Child might look free-to-play, but it's very much a disguised free-to-play. Basically, disguised free-to-plays, in my mind, are basically gacha games that act free-to-play but actually aren't when you look at the systems in its entirety. Now, this kind of goes directly to Girls Frontline, because in the comment section of my Girls Frontline videos, especially when I was arguing with the community, I did call Girls Frontline disguised free-to-play. The reason why I called it a disguised free-to-play is because you don't get T-Doll slots and Echelon slots as easily as you do in Epic 7 and Destiny Child, right? So basically meaning I would say the same thing to Azur Lane. The reason why I haven't really called Azur Lane that is because you have the guild that gives you 24 additional slots, and you start off with 150 dock space. There again, though, there's also another 200 additional units over Girls Frontline. Girls Frontline has about 300 T-Dolls around there, and Azur Lane has about 500 for ships. So you can tell why there's an additional space. But here's the other thing too. T-Dolls, I'm pretty much farming 6 teams, and I'm almost done with all of them. Keep in mind, I kind of didn't really play the game for 3 out of the 6 months that I played it because I was letting resources gather up, and I was basically just doing my dailies. Not even really that. I mean, there were a couple events that I missed because I had exams to deal with, and I was also playing on BlueStacks, and playing Girls Frontline on BlueStacks is kind of annoying compared to playing on the phone. So, that's why I wasn't playing it as much, and also I was still trying out Destiny Child, so, So basically meaning that after about 3 months of direct farming, I'm almost done with 6 full teams. And if I was continuing with my other 4 echelons, they would probably almost be done as well. Keep in mind, 6 teams of echelons is 30 T-Dolls. Most gacha games, just to max out a single unit, probably takes about a month. 2 to 3, no, not 2 to 3. About 1 to 2 months. Right? Depends on the systems, but just generally leveling them up, about a month to 2 months worth of resources and grinding to actually get them up all the way. Right? Especially as a free-to-play player. And this goes for Arknights, Azur Lane if you're farming casually, it took me about a month or 2. And Girls Frontline if you're playing basically your main dailies, about the same time, right? But about the same time for a single team because all of the T-Dolls are getting the same amount of XP. Right? And there's really no other farming after that, maybe besides leveling up their skills. So 30 T-dolls in 6 months. Okay, keep in mind that your initial starting space is basically 100 T-dolls. So if you're doing 20 T-dolls at a time, or even just 30 at a time, right? You buy those 2 echelon slots. Now you're doing 30 at a time. Well, if you finish a set of units basically every 8 months, you'd be done after 2 years. Now keep in mind that you only get basically 210 gems, assuming you're not using Twitter or Facebook. So you might get enough gems to increase your T-doll slots. I mean, albeit clearing the main stages with the initial S rank do yield you gems, but there's only 100 or so of them. So 3,000-isk. I think some of them gave 60, so if you just do 60 for every stage, 6,000-esque gems, basically enough for $100. Okay, so you got all your echelon slots. Now you're farming even faster. What if you want to increase your dorm slots? My point on why you need gems, because if you're like me and you run out of T-doll space, you're going to quit the game because you're not pulling for any more units. And the same thing goes for Azurlane. You don't really get that many extra gems. I mean, I guess you might get some gems for clearing the initial stages. Because I did have one mission that gave me 100 gems a while ago that I was trying to save. But what are you going to do after that? Increase your initial dock space so that way you can play a little bit more. But once you're done with the units, you're done. Now see, Azurlane, you're basically working on 15 units at a time, assuming you're working on Fleet 1, Fleet 2, and your submarine fleet at the same time. Right? But because of the amount of resources you need and the amount of balloons you need, you're likely only going to work on one ship at a time. Just so that way you can conserve oil. Maybe 2 ships, maybe 4 ships plus your sub fleet, so maybe 7 at a time. But again, you're going to need those booleans to be able to limit break your ships. So chances are, if you're like me, 1 at a time. Your units go a little further. Now, T-dolls, you can also work on 1 at a time after you get your initial teams up to level 100. And then you can maybe have that 1 T-doll that's level 100, and then you can just run 4 units and conserve stuff. But again, that's pretty quick. So even if you just did 1 unit at a time, you figure that surplus XP is going to start really gaining because they're at max level, so they're getting more surplus XP. So, imagine you getting, say, 50% on every mission. The missions give you 500 XP times 3 per T-doll. So you're looking at basically 7,500, and then you cut that in half for surplus XP. And you give all of that surplus XP to that 1 T-doll. That basically means you'll be done with the T-doll by the time they're done upgrading their skills. The only saving grace for T-dolls that you'd have is your moddable T-dolls. Because they can go up to 120, and it takes a while to get them up to 120. Right? So, that's the reason why I call Girls Frontline, and I guess I can include Azurlane, as disguised free-to-play. Because it's free-to-play enough for you to get new units, to beat the game, whatever, but it's not free-to-play in terms of getting everything else. Epic 7, you can get pretty much everything except outfits. Right? Destiny Child, you can pretty much get everything, and I don't even know if that includes outfits. I think they have outfits, and some of them you can get for free, some of them you can't. I think some of the units have extra outfits when you max them out. So there you go. Right? But Girls Frontline, you don't get additional space because they don't give you enough gems for it. But at least Girls Frontline does give you some gems compared to Azurlane. Right. And that's basically my definition of disguised free-to-play, is that it's free-to-play for you to beat the game, but not free-to-play enough for you to keep playing the game. Right? Or at least on my personal level, it's not free-to-play enough to keep playing the game. Right? Especially as a free-to-play player. And that goes for Girls Frontline and Azurlane. Thankfully, Azurlane, your units go further, so you have more time to save up compared to Girls Frontline. But, again. And for Destiny Child, it's disguised free to play because you get so many crystals and so many gacha tickets, but you can't get your units maxed out. Completely maxed out. Hope that makes sense. I doubt it. Somebody's going to dislike this video, I know it, because, oh, you called Azurlane disguised free to play. Are you trying to call it pay to win? It's a PvP gacha, yes. Girls, okay, here's the deal. Every gacha game is technically pay to win. Just so y'all know that. Every gacha game is pay to win because you can put money into the game and beat the game that way. But I know some of y'all are going to get mad because I called Azurlane and Girls Frontline disguised free to play. I know some of y'all are going to get mad because I called Destiny Child disguised free to play, but that is exactly what they are. The only gacha game that I have played that you can get everything for free is Honky. I'm not including Genshin because the rates are shit. Okay? So, there you go. Anyways, with that, I will talk to you guys later about Dark Summer. Peace.